a whole cascade of understandings that started happening. You know, this was the original authority, the original creativity, and it came from women's menses, their blood, you know, when that descent every month into the dream time. And there's a power, that's the original shamanic descent. Women were the original shamans. There's a lot of evidence of that now. And so by women coming together and bleeding in sync, as you do if you're living together. We know that even today. If you live in the same house, you start bleeding together, or the same monastery or whatever.
And trained.
And trained. And you bleed together, and the veil between dimensions is thinner. We're much more psychically aware. We're in dream time. We're sensitive. And you come together as women in that state, and you can bring through vision and guidance for the people. You bring through the wisdom.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, we're the spiritual creators. We're the natural priestesses and shamans.
How would this natural women's spiritual authority actually manifest?
Fantastic question, because it is manifesting around the world. This is what's so exciting. Ordinary women, women without credentials or degrees. It doesn't take any kind of a bonk on the head. Lema Bowie in Liberia helped, that she founded the Mass Action for Peace, Liberian women, and they were largely responsible for ending the civil war in Liberia. And she had what she called, she's a Methodist, I believe a Methodist, she's Christian, African Christian. She had a silly dream, you know, to gather the women and pray to end the war. She thought, well, that's, you know, what's that going to do? But she told women about it, and that came from a natural authority. Natural, just she had a guidance, and the women said, yes, let's do that. And she said, well, who's going to organize it? And they said, you are. She goes, no, not me, I'm not worthy. She didn't feel worthy.
Right.
But she was given the dream, and she told it, and so she organized it. And the women chanted and sang and danced. And Charles Taylor, the warlord, would have to drive by them every day. He hated it, seeing them chanting and singing and dancing for peace. And then they went out with their peace signs. And she said, Lema Bowie said, we were all over them. Wherever they were, we were. And they would link arms. You know, woman's natural spiritual authority. Woman as a collective. You know, and they would link arms in front of the military. They demanded truce negotiations. There's a whole story. That's a really phenomenal story of how they made that happen, that peace happen. And then there's Sampat Pal Devi in India, a poor woman with 5 kids who was married off at age 11, I think it was. And she got tired of seeing the women being beaten and women not educated and the outcasts, you know, the untouchables. She gathered the women together with their lati sticks, their traditional walking sticks. They all wore hot pink saris. The Gulabi gang, Gulabi means pink, and they organized as a group their natural spiritual authority, and they said to the men, stop beating that wife, stop beating your wife, and they would beat him if he didn't stop. You know, they only used violence if they had to, but they asserted their, you know, natural spiritual authority protects life. It acts instinctually, it acts creatively, right? She didn't need a bureaucracy, she didn't need funding, she didn't need grants, you know, she didn't need any kind of credentials. She acted from her natural protection as a mother, as a woman, and she gathered the women together like Lema Bowie did in Liberia. So that's what I mean by natural spiritual authority. And on a personal level, a woman can, if it's natural, it can't be taken away from you. It's right there. That's why I call it a hidden stream. It's just under the surface. Scratch a little bit, and there it is. It's inside, and it's a knowing. And a woman in her own home, if she can sit with that, the man, if she's with a man, a male companion, a husband, she can, if he can see her as the natural spiritual authority. The ancient word for wife in Sanskrit meant she who guides her husband on the path of righteousness. So this has a history. This is not something I'm making up. It has a historical reality and a biological reality. And women feel it. So a woman can stand in that natural spiritual authority as an individual, and we must collect together en masse and assert it as woman, you know, all women together. And in fact, we are the only ones that can do it. I mean, we must change humanity around. We must bring us back into right relationship. Woman must do it, and we do it by ending the division between us. We've been divided into separate houses, nuclear families. We've been divided from our own bodies. You know, our blood is, oh, we don't want to do that. You know, we want to hide it. The female shamanic group, you know, we need to revive that. And it's all in the service of love and life. Woman doesn't dominate. You know, woman wants to include, because I think the Z Budapest that coined the feminist term is only two kinds of people in the world. Mothers and their children. You know, that includes all of us, right? The family of humanity. So, and the other group I wanted to mention that's asserting their natural spiritual authority is the 13 indigenous grandmothers. And they were brought together by Jyoti, a woman who was kind of getting the vision of the grandmothers for me. She didn't know what it meant. How do I make this happen? And her inner voice said, follow relationship. Start with relationship, and it'll unfold from there. And that's what natural spiritual authority is about. It's about relationship. It's always about relationship. Not isolation and I'm above you, but relationship. And it's about what real power is. Judy Grahn, in one of her articles, wrote about, that's when I first understood the difference between power and force. An apple tree. You can have an apple tree, and you can dry it up and kill it that way. You can fence it. You can chop it down. You know, but you can't create an apple. All the other is force, but the tree has the power to create an apple. And that's power. And woman has the power to create life and nurture it with an intelligence that is innate. You know, woman as a collective and woman individually. So that's power.
The power of birth is much greater than the force of death. That is absolutely true, and now it's very encouraging and very inspiring, of course, to know and hear about all of these exciting things that are going on around the world. What would you like to say, finally, as some, in our last minutes together, for the next steps, or some advice for the women who are hearing you in waking up to this natural authority?
I would say it's all internal, it's innate. So sit down and be still and let the breath come all the way down into your womb. Maybe just put your hands on your womb and honor your womb and begin to invite that intelligence to have dominion. No, that's not the right word. That's a biblical term. To breathe. Okay, to breathe and to guide. Come to it as the channel that it is. And bring that, if you meditate, bring that into your meditation. And then what I do from there is let it begin to move the body. You know, but begin with rooting in the source of power and the source of our natural spiritual authority, which is this power to create, and the intelligence that's encoded right here.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Vajra. Now, what about for the viewers who would like to read your website or your book? How would they contact you?
www.greatgoddess.org.